Now, if we're dispensing with some of sort of tried and true expectations about what Saudi Arabia will do, is there a sense that Saudi Arabia's long-time role as a swing producer, and obviously people forget that being a swing producer requires tremendous amounts of capital investment, tremendous amounts of annual upkeep to maintain this production capacity. Have they, and over the recent period, Saudi Arabia said we're no longer particularly interested in that, even though the capacity is ostensibly up to 12.5 million barrels per day. But when you have a tight oil proposition, which essentially is you can put in a new well with about $1.5 million, and it takes you a week, as opposed to the long-term high-level capital expenditures of traditional oil extraction. Has the U.S. become the swing producer in terms of the global oil markets? And is Saudi Arabia okay with that?
I don't think so. I think that it's very important for the U.S. to be producing more oil. It's good for them because that lowers their current account deficit. They require less oil from the global oil marketplace, but they are not necessarily, and they're far away from being a swing producer. Because the shale story is all about producing today. It doesn't mean that they have these huge reservoirs, and they have not put the same amount of investments that Saudi Arabia has put. So that, for instance, in 2011, when Libya was out and they weren't producing oil, and other countries in the region weren't producing a lot of oil because of instability, Saudi Arabia stepped in and started producing oil. The U.S. doesn't have this capacity. On the contrary, the shale story in the U.S. is all about digging a lot of wells and then ending up with something as a result of a lot of digging. And I think the U.S. is very, very far away. In fact, I would say that the environmental costs of shale oil is still not estimated fully. So we don't know what are the costs that this is impinging and bringing upon the environment in North America. They require a lot of water that is not available in many parts around the world. So, for instance, China has a lot of shale reserves, but they don't have water available in these locations to extract the oil. And you've seen the reports where we heard that there are seismic concerns where shale could be producing unintended consequences in terms of earthquakes. So the environmental side is not yet clear. For sure, they're producing a lot of oil, and it's coming as a result of the shale drilling. But we don't know exactly at what break-even point the entire shale oil industry in the U.S. is at. Some people say it's 45. Some people say it's between 30 and 80. Some people say it's between 40 and 60. I think that this requires a lot of attention. Probably it's on the basis of an oil-to-oil study that has been looked at, but I think the U.S. is far away from being the swing oil producer. Saudi Arabia is still by far the only reliable producer that has, as you said, put the investment, is continuing to put the investment, because even today, when Saudi Arabia maintains this capacity of 12.5 million barrels, they're the ones who have to put the money on the table and spend, because this is sitting idle somewhere, but it's not at zero cost. So when the world discovers that they need a lot of oil on a reliable basis, it's going to be Saudi Arabia.